All right. I should be live. Let's find out. I'm going to try screwing this up a little bit, though. I'm going to try screwing this up by starting to record on my end, too. All right. Hard drive is hard driving it. Okay. GPU is okay. Memory is okay. Disk is not being used at the moment. It's got to be... Well, we'll see. If it crashes, that's why. I'll try recording while I stream. Hey, guys. How's it going? Welcome to the Farm Engineer. You're probably wondering why I'm talking about... Let me change the scene. There we go. You're probably wondering why I'm talking about politics at all. It is important because I'm going to drive it from the individual level up. This is about the self, both the inward and the outward self. The Japanese call the outward self the Kao, K-A-O. It means face. I'm Asian, so we have this concept of face in Asia. Specifically, I'm Indonesian, which is like the dirty pirate Mexicans of the South Pacific. You should never trust us. People have had their boats taken for a long time in those Straits of Malacca. You know, Singapore's had to put up with us. Malaysia's had to put up with us. It is what it is, right? Anyways, we have the concept of face, and we have the concept of your true self inside. Like your mask that you wear is your face, and everything else is the real you. That is how those cultures have stayed stable for so long. They've actually resisted most of this woke mind virus stuff because they know how to go along with the party line without internalizing it, without taking them over. And it is because they have moral pillars. Now, this Jonathan Haidt stuff, let me pull that up. This Jonathan Haidt video, Jonathan Haidt moral foundations. I keep saying moral pillars. That's how I think of it. Also, I hope you guys don't mind I'm sitting down today. Let me see if this is him. I think it might be the second one. I'm not sure. Yeah, so Jonathan Haidt, you probably know him. I think he's actually better in a lot of ways than Jordan Peterson. He's way less preachy. He's more academic, which means that I can absorb the information a lot better. He's also not politically involved, so, you know, no shouting, no crying, no benzos. I'm sorry, Jordan. I like Jordan Peterson. I like Jordan Peterson a lot. I mean, I used to a lot more, but I still do now. The Jonathan Haidt's a lot better because he puts the whole moral foundations theory to work in describing us and describing these political groups. And the way that you can keep your community from getting sucked into politics is actually just to maintain these moral pillars. I said not get sucked into politics. I'm actually trying to help you defend against it because what these political groups do is that they leverage a moral pillar that you don't have a counterbalance to. And I'll talk about this here in a second. They leverage a moral pillar. Let's take care. And they say, oh, don't you care, don't you care, don't you care? And eventually they will condition you to then no longer care about liberty. Like it's all about taking care of the homeless. Give me more of your money. Give me more of your resources. Let me tax you into oblivion. And if you lose sight of liberty, which is a lot of people do, and it's a lot of ladies' fault for this too, because ladies are very caring. They're very self-sacrificing. Ladies are also the ones who hold civilization together. They're the value system. So if you ever think of like why people say today's society is gynocentric, I personally agree with that. It's always gynocentric. It's always been about what the women want because the women raise the children. The children do whatever the mom teaches them to do. They think the way the mom teaches them to think, which is why one of the, sort of hallmarks of childhood is rebellion, which is it's a good thing and a bad thing. Sorry for making a mouth noise there. All right. So if we want to talk about moral pillars, I definitely suggest watching Jonathan Haidt. I will give you enough background so that you can get something out of this live stream first, and then we're going to get into it. So what he proposes is that there are a few different moral foundations of all people, right? And this what's on the screen right now kind of gives it away. Let me just make sure that you can all see that. Well, I have no idea. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'll move it to the left a little bit. How about that? There we go. There's care, there's fairness, there's liberty, there's loyalty, authority, and sanctity. All right, now it's easy to see when sanctity is violated. The problem is if you're not built with these moral foundations in mind, you actually can't see anything as sacred or sanctified. You will go into a church and burn it down because it's just another building to you. Or you'll just say, whatever, your religion, who cares? Like if it's not important to you, then at least you understand the importance to somebody that something is supposed to stay clean. It's supposed to stay beyond reproach. This is sacred. Sometimes all these moral foundations, by the way, can go too far if they're not going far enough. And usually the way they go too far is they have no counterbalance. So let's say that I thought that you should keep your body sanctified. So let's say I have a daughter and I tell her, you need to keep your body sanctified. And I start telling her like, no more fluoride, no more seed oils, which not a bad thing to not have seed oils. That stuff is kind of garbage. But no boys can ever touch you or look at you. You will keep a veil on at all times. That's way too far. It's come at the cost of liberty. I'm not respecting her liberty. I'm also not respecting her fairness with her other peers. I mean, unless this is how a culture just treats all women, which there are cultures that do that. In fact, most cultures do that. I don't know. Spilled. Most cultures hold women sacred. Let me put it that way. That's pretty fair to say. And we've actually kind of stopped doing that. It was interesting because the feminist movement was a movement for liberty and fairness for women. Liberty and fairness for women, and it came at the cost of their own sanctity. That's totally normal. They didn't consider themselves sacred. One thing that a lot of fathers don't do is when they have a daughter, they don't make the daughter feel like she's very special or valuable. I don't know why we have such distant fathers. Most women who have a really loving father relationship that was, strong and also caring, they tend to have more self-respect, in my opinion. The feminist movement came for fairness and liberty for women, but it came at the cost of sanctity and at the cost of the authority of, I guess, the patriarchy, which some authorities should go. I think the patriarchy is a misnomer. I don't think it exists, but, it could. If to them it does, and that's important. You got to remember that to your enemy, whatever demon they're fighting, it exists to them. All right, so that's how you stay caring of your enemies. You have to remember that they're delusional. They're not evil. Right? I don't think Marxists and libertarians are evil. I don't think it's an insult to call someone a Marxist. Now, do I want Marxists near any of the levers of power? Do I have a lot of respect for their worldview? No, not really. I think it's pretty awful. It's incomplete. And what I want to give words to here is that they are not evil, they are incomplete. But who is complete, right? So Marxists care obviously about care and mostly about fairness, right? They definitely don't care about liberty, tax the rich, all that stuff. They don't believe in personal property. So you can't have liberty without property. That's one of the few things that libertarians actually agree on, is that the right to property. Marxists do not care about loyalty whatsoever. Loyalty means that you've affirmed yourself to a group and you're going to stay loyal to the group. Now, it's a group or a person or an institution. Now, the thing is, you might think, well, Marxists tend to stick together a lot. They do. They also tend to rotate out a lot. You know what I mean? The circular firing squad of the left, left eats its own. That's the loyalty thing. Authority, they hate authority. They don't recognize anyone's authority. They think of you as just as important as the King of England. Right? They don't believe in the sanctity of the office of King of England. They don't believe in the authority of any legislature. They think they could just do whatever. Authority, when you respect authority, that means that you yield to something because it's the rules. You accept there is some rule-making body outside of yourself. Even if you disagree with it, you're going to go with it. Even in Japan, if they see some trash, or no, you know what? In Japan, when the light says don't walk, and there are no cars there, they will sit there and wait to walk. They will actually, I'm just going to pop over here, check my chat. Feel free to chat in. They will sit and wait for the light to turn into walk before they walk, even though there's nobody there. I used to do the same thing when I was a kid because I was raised by my Asian father. We're very, very reverent of authority. This also means the authority of the father figure. So there you go, right? Now let's get on to the libertarians. They actually only care about liberty, as Jonathan Haidt finds in his book, The Righteous Mind. Libertarians really only care about loyalty. They definitely don't care about care, right? They don't care if you hurt yourself as long as you're free to do so. Like, you can go and do heroin in the street. And by the way, before I really get on with libertarians, I don't know what a libertarian is. I don't get a straight definition out of it. They keep changing caucuses, whatever the Mises caucus is. They've been going on about Austrian economics for decades now. I used to be a libertarian until I got pushed out. I was just said, oh, I'm not a real libertarian. And I said, fair enough. I won't ever be, I guess. I don't care. I just found the people to be not of the sociable type. And if you're trying to create a social movement, and a political movement is a type of social movement, I need sociable people, and they just don't come off as very welcoming. Like, you go to a Trump rally and you feel pretty welcome. You can go to a left-wing rally. I'm sure they're also welcoming as long as you agree. They don't really care about the sanctity of yourself. And they also don't care about any loyalty to their fellow countrymen. So Marxists tend to be a little crazy. They care mostly about the fairness thing. The care, I think, is just sort of a veneer, like the whole compassion thing for them. I think Marxists feign compassion, but I think they sort of manipulatively use compassion to lever useful idiots into helping them. But I think the people who hold the levers of power actually have none of these, to be honest. Like, Marxist, libertarian, or Republican, conservative, whoever, I think the people who are usually in charge don't have any of these. But for everyone underneath, it's a really good test to find out if your leaders are actually any good. Like, use this as like a test if they're a Cylon, right? If you get my Battlestar Galactica reference, go in and apply this little test to them, all these 6 pillars. This gives you the equipment you need to evaluate yourself and evaluate others. Does this person hold anything sacred? Does this person recognize any authority? Does this person have any loyalty to anything? Even if he thinks they're wrong, even if he's, even if he's like El Cid under King Alfonso, and El Cid is like, all right, yes, sir, I'll do as you wish, sir. And King Alfonso is like, I hate you. I think you're plotting against me. Get lost, El Cid. El Cid stayed loyal to the end until his death. Do they care about liberty, right? Do they care about fairness, Ask if your leaders care about all 6 of these things, because they need to. And in fact, the only group that has all 6 of these pillars are conservatives. I'm sorry, they just do. Conservatives have them sometimes to a fault, but it's better to have them and be faulty than to not have them at all. And it's absolutely the best when they're all in balance. Because if they're all in balance, these things do not violate each other, right? If I believe that my church, let's say I'm a Catholic, and I believe that you should not blaspheme against the Virgin Mary, that's my sanctity right there. But I'm not going to like force a weird speech law on you, because the American conservatives have created this balance that's lasted for hundreds of years, brought in from the English school and all of their lessons that they've learned over 1,000 years of being a country. And we've created this tradition. We have our loyalty to authority that means that we care about what our ancestors said. We care about the trial and error they went through. I'm going to do this just because my dad did it. I'm going to be Santa Claus, and this is what Santa Claus looks like, and that's it, and that's all there is to it. That's tradition. That's an appeal to authority, the authority of tradition, the authority of your ancestors. Now, we don't have that in the West, which is why we're falling apart constantly. In Asia, we have that in spades, so they don't fall apart nearly as fast. These things slow things down, and they restore them back to order. If I was to recommend a way to deal with Marxists, I would probably try to get the women to undo the desanctification of their own bodies and begin a sort of ritual of healing and revitalization of that sanctity. Born Again Virgin is very much that vein. Some people think it's cringy. A lot of people don't think it's true, but people do get forgiven by the Christian church, by Jesus. So it's a good way to go. It's a good way to restore it, right? There's authority. You have to have some sort of reverence for the word of, say, our founding fathers, say, of your religion. Christianity has served America well for quite a long time. Not everyone has to adhere to Christianity, but they do adhere, or by and large, they have adhered to the Christian values, which I'll get into on another live stream at some point. So, Farm Engineer is here talking about politics. Why am I talking about politics? Because politics boils down to the self. The self brings up to politics. And inside of the self, because there are 2 phases of yourself, there is your moral self, which is your inside, and then there's outward self, which is how you carry yourself, right? Now, the problem is, if you lack any of these moral pillars, you are subject to being leveraged. I already talked about the feminists, how they went for care and fairness, and they absolutely lost sanctity, because they didn't have the self-sanctity and the authority of their tradition, and nor did they feel any sort of loyalty to anybody else, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure who the feminists were loyal to other than themselves, because it's a movement named after themselves. They're not like the, I don't know, they're not like the Betsy Rossians, they're not like loyal to Betsy Ross. They're not like the Daughters of America. They're not the Girl Scouts of America. They're the feminists, as in, it's me, the libertarians. So this brings me to the libertarians. I made a comment on Twitter, which I don't feel like digging up. It was pretty funny because my whole thesis was that libertarians and Marxists have way more alike than anyone realizes. Although they are polar opposites, they are the opposites of the same coin. They lack these moral pillars that keep them regulated and keep them sustainable as a civilization. They are the same kind of post-enlightenment hyper-rationalists or like rational supremacists that act as the solvent to civilization. So I just said a few things there. Post-enlightenment means the enlightenment that, during the scientific revolution and the enlightenment of thought. I'm not an expert on philosophy, but what came out of the enlightenment was the supremacy of reason. The supremacy of reason. So what is reason supreme over? It's the irrational, right? The rational has now won out over the irrational. Now, all of a sudden, you have to rationalize a bunch of things that were irrational. So if I have a phobia of spiders, I am simply having some sort of genetically ingrained reaction to the general shape of spiders because of my ancestral history, evolutionary history, and all this stuff. And it's not rational anymore. It's not useful. It's vestigial. And then you go to Australia, and then you find out that fear of spiders is actually very useful. Disgust. Disgust is actually used. That's the D-I-S-G-U-S-T. Disgust, as in this is disgusting. That is a indicator of whether or not you're a conservative or not. That is actually the one-dimensional, are you a conservative or not? Because disgust is almost always pretty irrational. If you have disgust for something, let's take something that's unseemly. Let's say you have a disgust for people's sexuality. You only like the one standard type, right? Which is the minimum types of sexuality you need to sustain a civilization is that one type, Sometimes it's through a sheet. Sometimes it's just in the one position. With the miracle of science and a turkey baster, you can even get lower than that and have even less. Depends on how far your sanctity reflex has gone. But disgust, right? Disgust of sexual preferences. That is a irrational thing, right? Because now with hygiene and other things like that, you don't have to worry about any actual effects of it, but they have a disgust to it. And that disgust is really important. That's not to say that someone's irrational, like an insult, is actually really awful to say. Irrationality, our feelings do matter. Like this whole facts don't care about your feelings stuff. There's a reason why Ben Shapiro is not very persuasive to a lot of people. He's only persuasive to hyper-rationalists. Your feelings do actually matter, and your feelings will get votes or not. And your feelings about Marxists and your feelings about libertarians actually are justified. They're justified because they're violating these six, they're violating at least one of these six moral foundations. So what the problem with let's start, I guess we'll go back to liberals, right? The liberalism, classic liberalism, is a post-enlightenment rationalist movement. Classic liberalism acted as this cultural solvent that pretty much destroyed what would say is, the mainline Christianity. It is what brought science to its supreme position. And now we get to live in the Klaus Schwab world of science, and it sucks. And we hate it, and we're all disgusted by it. And it just feels like our humanity is being ripped apart day by day as they replace functions of humans. The Amish are actually pretty interesting. The reason they resist technology, they do not reject technology. Let me put it that way. What they do is, my understanding is that their process, the Amish being hyper-conservative, they have a bishop and a board per community that will decide which technology is approved of or not. And the rationale that I've heard commonly in their philosophy is that if it replaces a human being and human labor, it's not good. If it enhances human labor, then it is good. In other words, they don't want to replace. if they went full on with technology, they would replace themselves and become idle. They would become like us. Because that's exactly what happened. Is now we're in the pods, we're eating the bugs, we're playing the video games, we're buying the virtual like hats for our TF2 avatars, and we hate our lives, and we're depressed, and we want to end it. And here's maids to let you end it, and everything's spiraling out of control, and we don't understand. It's because we've ignored our instincts. We've actually said that our gut feeling, our feelings in general, our instincts are beneath us. We should not listen to them. Oh, this disgusts you? Then something's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you. Like, if you're a ist or a phobe, that's fine. That's actually those are your feelings. You shouldn't ignore that. You shouldn't let it take you over, but you definitely shouldn't ignore it, and you shouldn't stand for anyone else telling you not to. Here's a good example that libertarians do, and this is kind of what pisses me off about them. It's one of the things. I'm hoping that through this talk, I can equip you with the language, the parlance, and the ideas to finally just speak your piece. Just like Jordan Peterson did with the Bible, he was able to bring to the fore the rationality as to why Christianity is important, and if not better than other beliefs. The same way that like the guys at Nerdrotics on Friday Night Tights sort of helped us explain why Star Wars was going downhill. Critical Drinker as well, explaining why these movies are falling apart. I think Mahler. I got Mahler back there. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. I just spilled over myself. Anyways, I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me pull up the camera. I'm really happy with my Mahler plushie. I can just go get it. Yeah, there's Mahler. Yeah. I love my Mahler. He's got a little suit. That's awesome. He's Eldritch being. I love his. I sit there for 5 hours and listen to him talk about media, and it's cathartic. It's cathartic to know why you hate this. Like, why do I hate this? Why does this disgust me? Why does this annoy me? Oh, okay. And then it's like, why is this good? Oh, that's great. That's positive. Why is this movie better? Why is this movie terrible? Even though they're supposed to be the same thing, right? Like, this is supposed to be Star Wars. Nope. It's actually lost all of its soul. All right. So here's the thing that libertarians do that annoy me personally is their lack of loyalty. And their lack of loyalty is why. Their lack of loyalty is 100% why their party gets nowhere. Their libertarian party, as far as I know, has never had anyone win a seat in Congress, never had anyone win a seat in the Senate, definitely not win the presidency. I'm sure they've won local elections and local houses. Libertarians like to take credit for a lot of Republicans, but that doesn't count. Like, where are your candidates? If you're here to solve a problem, then where's the solution? It's been 50 years. Libertarian Party was started in 1972. We've been talking about this stuff. If your job is to be a think tank for other people that can actually get stuff done, that's fine. But you guys lack the loyalty. So you take Trump's bump stock ban, which I disagree with, obviously, right? Because, I like guns. Who doesn't like guns? Except some like boomer Democrat from New York, apparently. who's now the Republican president and possibly the candidate again, right? Who doesn't like guns? I don't want bump stocks. I just want the real fully automatic thing, man. I'm gonna buy a powder loaded cannon sometime this year, and I'm just gonna shoot stuff out of cannons. It's gonna be great. I want to shoot fruits and vegetables through like a mesh, so I can see if I can julienne fries like from a cannon. That'd be awesome. It's like $300 for one of those things. Yeah, we get your own cannon YouTube channel. We'll all just be the big cannon community. Anyways. I want more guns. I didn't like his decision with that. I didn't like his decision with the thingy, the pokey poke, right? I didn't like that either, okay? But I'm still loyal because if we throw him out, what do we have? Right? And also, like, he gets us there. Like, if he's right 80% of the time, I'm not going to throw somebody out because they're wrong 20% of the time, unless it, like, really matters, right? But the thing is, the libertarians will just say, oh, he disagreed with me. Oh, he disagreed with me. I'm done. Like, how many of libertarians actually like their party? Like, their actual party? I don't think many of them do. Here's the deal. Loyalty is what got rid of the rhinos from the Republican Party, because a lot of decent people who disagreed with what their leadership was doing in the Republican Party stuck with it, and they stayed there, and they didn't leave. They didn't go and just be like, oh, I'm going to be an independent, or oh, I'm going to go be a libertarian, or oh, I'm going to go and join the Marxists. That'd be pretty... just dyes his hair pink, just like some dude just rips his suit off and he's just got like a t-shirt on that has, I don't know, that has some band on it, just hipster mustache just pops over. Man, after all these leftists, I miss hipsters. These people all look terrible now. I miss the scrawny mustache dude who makes my coffee. For reference, I like Marxists a lot more than I like libertarians, because Marxists, if you agree with them, they're really nice. They're actually really desperate for attention and help a lot of the time. So they really appreciate it when you're just kind to them. And they also make really good coffee. And I'm Indonesian, and that's important to me. All right. But the Republicans stayed. They didn't just run away and say, "Well, the party abandoned me. I'm going to abandon the party." They stayed loyal to the party. They stayed loyal to the party so that eventually they could churn things around. So as soon as they found a champion, they turned everything around. And the key there is, I believe, Carl Benjamin subscribes to the great man theory. But the great man, like the Alexander the Greats of the world, don't exist if there wasn't the Philip who prepped the army and trained everybody and built the kingdom and did all this, like the groundwork. You have to have loyalty, because if you don't sit there during the bad times where you have to lay the groundwork for the good times, there will never be good times. So the libertarians having no loyalty whatsoever to anything other than themselves and their own interests actually defeat their own interests. It's why they can't get elected. It's why they also fight each other constantly. Right? If all you believe is liberty, I think I saw a debate where someone took their pants off. I was like, where's your level of sanctity? Where's your respect for the authority of the moderators? Like, where's your loyalty to not basically betray your own party for your own benefit? Because he just did it for self-indulgent lulls and fun and stuff. It looked like he was just having a good time or making some stupid point. Right? Well, that did lasting damage to the party. It probably will never be taken seriously. Like, if someone took their pants off in a Republican debate, that would be on the news cycle constantly. Not a serious party. It's not a serious political movement. The only common thread I can get out of libertarians is they want more freedom. That's it. And they just bang on about that. They want more freedom. Let me pop in here. We've got Mexican cartels. Let me see. Yeah, we got Mexican cartels. I will mute this. I think this is muted already. It's not muted. Okay. Tell me if this is too loud. I apologize if it is. But oh wait, you guys can't even hear it. Oh wait. There we go. There we go. All right, now I want you to ask yourself, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, how much do you care about your liberty right now? How much does that guy in the red car care about his liberty? No, he doesn't. Liberty dies if you do not compromise a little bit. Hey, look at all these guns everywhere. It's so free. They got private security. Look at it. Oh, wow. Not a cop in sight. This is heaven. Unless these guys are cops. They might be. I don't know. But like this is the libertarians who want just more liberty and are not willing to compromise on anything. I'm gonna turn it down. They're not willing to compromise on anything. Are the weak men in bad and good times who are going to make bad times. This is bad times right here, because you have to respect the authority of the state enough for the state to protect you. We have set up a government that is, to an extent lesser than we would like it to be, an extension of the will of the people. That's how Trump got elected. That's how the rhinos are getting kicked out. How could you not look at the ending of the Clinton, Bush and Cheney legacy, which was the reigning uniparty of my youth. It's the reason why I became a libertarian and voted for Ron Paul. Right? I'm sorry if I'm getting washed out by this. I'm just gonna stop it. I think they're done. They've tuckered themselves. The guns got tired. There's no more. Right? Let me actually, you know what? I'll do face screen and I'll go back to the graphic. Boom. If you don't have loyalty to your government and give your government some authority, you're going to lose your liberty. Like, if one of these falls, they all fall. Let's go through a couple of case studies, right? Let's say your society stops caring. We just don't take care of people. And I'm not saying government, I'm saying society, is all of us. In fact, as a matter of fact, we're gonna zoom over here. We're gonna pop down here. All right. Let's say that we stop caring, right? We don't have the moral ability to care for each other, because everything starts at the moral self, then the outward self, through the family, through to your community, and then up to your nation. So this nation is about your defense, and it's your interface to the world, as well as your national identity, which is important. First thing, if you're ever in an airport, international airport, let's say it's Narita, outside of Tokyo, first, you meet a stranger, first thing they ask you is where you're from, okay? First thing they ask you, because you know an American, everybody knows an American when they're on vacation. Everybody knows a Frenchman when they're on vacation. Just bad tips all around. Everybody tips. I think Americans tip pretty good. You can know someone's nationality because it does shine through. Whether you want to admit that or not, you have a national identity and it does affect yourself, especially your outward self. But it's your moral self that is the foundation of everything else. Your outward self is how you appear to the rest of the world. It is your habits. It is your activities. All right. Your moral self is how you understand and actualize. You take in stimulus from your outward self. You bring it in, you understand it, you process it, you put your moral filters on it. Hopefully you have all 5 of your filters in place. We'll talk about those filters and how they can go wrong and what happens when they go wrong. Because if one of them goes wrong, you are in for it's like a dystopia. You can make a dystopian novel by just taking those 6 foundations of morality and just getting rid of one of them. It will become a hyper-ironic, weird... As a matter of fact, maybe that'd be a good idea. Because Brave New World is pretty much everything except for liberty and sanctity. Anyways, this goes up to your family, whether you like it or not. Your family is the most important people. You will know. If you are out and about and atomized, you will have very little relevance to the world. You'll have very little relevance. Because if you're an atomized single person, you are busy all the time. You're busy all the time with the family too, but you're not effective if you're by yourself. Like you need a family. And the great thing about Christianity is that it actually extends the family in it to include your church. So your church is here as well. That's your church family. So that gives you cohesion, strength, structure, constancy, and home. Your family is your bare minimum to keep your mental health. If it's just your outward self and your moral self, that's like alone in the woods. Some people can do that, but most people can't. Most people need social interaction, and the family is the most basic point of that. And a family is more important than just friends and acquaintances, because your family gives you the grounding that you need and the constancy. It's a phone. I can always pick up my phone and call my dad. I can always pick up my phone and call my dad. That is a big deal. That is a big deal. That's a life changer. I don't know what I'm going to do when he's gone and I can't call him or text him anymore. It's going to be like a piece of me is gone. Like a big chunk of this family is gone. And it's a part of life that we all go through. Your community is how you start to interface with the world, and it gives you purpose. So with your family, you might not have purpose other than just taking care of your family. But this is like your outward, I'm going to run the hardware store. It's going to give you dilemmas because now you have to deal with other people's lack of home training. All right, we all know that. We've all been on a subway before, I hope. Or an airplane. Or a Walmart. Actually, if you want dilemmas, go to the Walmart. Go to Walmart at 2 a.m. and have yourself a nice dilemma. You probably have a couple dilemmas in the parking lot. Oh my gosh. I lived in Daytona Beach for 4 years, so got buck wild. Down on a Ridgewood. All right. And it's how you build your trust. The community is like the first piece of ice that you step out onto to go to the big ice skating rink of the world. It's your first tiptoe. It's your first, hey, can I get along with anyone that I'm not related to? Your family, you can get into a fist fight with them and you'll be fine. Community, not so much. You know? And then, of course, your community starts to culminate in your nation. All right, so now that we have those, I'm going to see if there's any chats. Feel free to be loud. I do not mind it. There we go. No chats, all good. All right, so if one of these things go wrong in your personal life, how does that cascade up to the nation? Let's say that you just don't care about other people. You don't believe in taking care of others. You think everyone's their own person. Do your own thing. You're responsible for you. What you're going to end up having is a lot of tent cities, because there are a lot of people there's a lot of people that have a bad time. And they hit on hard times. They can't take care of themselves for whatever reason. Sometimes it's accidental. Sometimes it's through their own stupidity. Sometimes it just is what it is. If you get that, it can happen enough that you start to get a certain amount of your population that cannot take care of themselves permanently or semi-permanently, and they decide to come and take your stuff. There's an African proverb. I don't know if it's actually true or not, like if it's from Africa, but it was the child who feels the coldness of his village will burn the village down to feel the warmth. Like, this is your school. This is the world that makes school shooters. Right? It makes people crazy. If you stop caring about people as a society, if you forego, the care of others, this is where you end up. You end up with basically school shooter land. Theoretically, you don't need to have care of others if you all have liberty, right? Everyone's got their own, everyone's going to hard charge it straight up. No, some people just don't hack it very well. Like, if you have full liberty, everyone who has an IQ below 110 will probably be destitute if you only cared about liberty. Because everyone else would Ponzi scheme and usury scam them or whatever else, right? Like, one thing that's illegal to do, one thing that subdues the liberty of corporations is that you're not allowed to talk about prices with other corporations, because all of these different providers of things can all just, let's say there's no law against price collusion. That's what that is. If there's no law against price collusion, that means all of your grocery stores could get together and either fake a scarcity, or let's say a new grocery store is coming in. They like, we're going to fight the cartel of grocery stores. We're mom and pop's, libertarian fantasy grocery store. We're going to fight the power. We're going to sell stuff 10% over cost. We're going to be fair. We're going to be fair here, right? All of those other grocery stores could tank their prices all at the same time and drive the little guy out. Because that's exactly what happens with all of government regulation. So what the libertarians will do is they say, oh, the government does it. The government lets it happen. So we got to stop, regulating these corporations because it's the government that's doing it through regulations. That's, high pollution disposal costs and other, stupid government programs you have to do. That's what's doing it. And those government programs came in only because of lobbyists from corporations that wanted to squeeze the little guy out. So let's get rid of regulation. So now the corporations can just skip the government and just squeeze them out themselves. Like, you have no idea the kind of weird games that rich people can play to corner the market, create monopolies, and then screw over everybody, right? And they use the government sometimes, but getting rid of the government doesn't make them stop. The government, the fact is, the government was so effective at stopping them. This is my theory, this is my opinion. The government became so effective at stopping these monopolies that the monopolies had, or these corporations had no choice but to take over the government. Like, if our government is ineffective or too lax on the corporations, then they wouldn't bother with it. They wouldn't bother with the lobbyists. Do you think I want to sit here and talk to AOC in her office or talk to friggin' Ted Cruz and go through the problem? Like, oh, I got a 2 o'clock where I got to bribe Ted Cruz. I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk to any of these idiots. I would rather just do it myself. I'd rather just, as a corporation, just collude myself, because me and ExxonMobil and BP, we can all just agree to just not drill in this area to create a false scarcity. It's like, oh, don't you guys want money? We do want money. But you know what's better than revenue? You know what's better than revenue, profit, all that stuff? You know what's better than all that stuff? It's margin. Margin. Let's say there's 10 pennies. There's got 10 pennies out in the field. And there's 2 competitors, right? So it's 5 pennies between us. Well, the thing we want to do is we're going to want to sell, give away those pennies for as much as we can get for them, right? And you'd think we'd try to bid each other low because we're 2 competitors and we're trying not to get screwed over with the supply and demand, right? We want to have the lowest price so we can sell. That's the theory. That's not the reality. What's going to happen is me and the other guy are going to talk and say, like, okay, we're only going to release 1 penny a year, right? All right, cool. Shake the hand, gone. Because we want the margin. We want to inflate the prices as high as possible so we can get the most out of the very limited amount of pennies. That's what oil companies do. That's what all the Saudis are doing. Whether the Saudis are a government or a corporation is entirely academic. They're actually a family, I think. There's like some emirs, right? So it's the kind of harebrainedness and the like absolute myopia and the not realizing human nature that makes like the similarities. We'll write them down in a second. We'll just think of them, right? The similarities between Marxists and libertarians is almost exact. Like to the point where they're constantly eating themselves. They're not particularly cohesive. Like Marxists are only marshaled because they've taken over our academic institutions to be able to push so much thought out, right? And libertarians are trying to do that now. The libertarians are what the Marxists probably were in about the 60s, right? Like, oh, they're harmless, they're nice, it's okay, it's fine. It's like, no, you're moral solvent. You are a post-Enlightenment fully hyper-rationalist moral solvent that will erode loyalty, it will erode authority, and it'll erode the sanctity, as well as the care and the fairness that holds our society together. So if you stop caring about people, yeah, you're going to have a revolution. It's just going to happen. You can't have that many poor people. Like, what are you going to do? Some Klaus Schwab, like, mass murder? We just need fewer people. Like, anybody who's, as I was saying, anyone below the IQ of 110 would be screwed in this hyper liberty place, because you have to restrict the liberty of people so they don't compromise these other things, right? If fairness is out the window, right? Let's say if fairness is out the window. I'm trying to think of what would happen if we just, as a society, stopped trying to be fair. It would probably be, we'd probably actually be a lot better off, actually, in a lot of ways, because we enforce fairness with like civil rights and stuff like that. I don't think we need like government forced integration of people. I think that's too much of a cost of their liberty. People are going to be okay. Like, now, if we were in hard times, like there was actual starvation in America, I'd be like, yes, we need to be more fair, right? And so if you have a balanced approach to this, like a conservative, like hate to say like myself, you realize these tools have a correct place at a correct time. I don't want a libertarian government when I'm at war. All right, I don't want to, like, if I'm being invaded, because I need people who are loyal and respect authority. You can't run a military unit if they don't have a sense of authority. They'll all be like, I don't know, selling stuff. You know, they'll be subverting. They'll be, selling secrets and stuff behind your back. They'll be betraying you. They'll be like, oh, I'm going to get mine, whatever. You know, we don't care about the state. Screw the state. We don't care about America. I just want mine. It's over, right? And if you want to see degradation, just follow libs of TikTok. That's what happens, right? And the David Frenches of the world, who are the rhinos, who are the, like, the boundary, the overlap of libertarian and sort of rhino boomer is the social aspect. Like, you just don't care about burning flags. You don't care about, like, people naked on the street sort of thing. You don't care about taking your pants off at a debate. That's a bridge too far. And people forgot that sanctity is important until we started mutilating children and objectifying children. And that's the children thing is what's turning a lot of women back in. Because if women don't feel that they're sanctified in themselves, they sure as hell do feel like their children are sanctified, at least most of them. There are a lot of liberal women, liberal Marxists. See, the thing is, liberal, Marxist, libertarian, they're all kind of the same to me now. Now that I don't see things as a left versus right, because that distinction is stupid. I think of it now as complete or incomplete moral foundation. If you think of it that way, you see that they're exactly the same, except they just believe in two different things. That's it. They've just picked a different facet. Like, a complete loss of loyalty, I kind of went over. What happens if you have that is, like, people just start selling us out. Like, people just leave America. They'll just abandon it. Let's say America has a really hard time. There's a big volcano. There's a big earthquake. You know, things get real over at Yellowstone. And people just decide to leave. I don't feel like rebuilding. I don't want to be here. I want to get mine. I want to take care of my family. I don't want to make any compromises. I'm just going to go ahead and leave. And that's it. Like, you wouldn't have in America. Someone's holding the bag. Like, someone is holding the bag. That's why we consider veterans to be so good, is because they've taken a big risk for their country. They've shown great loyalty. All right. Speaking of soldiers, authority. You wouldn't have a military without authority. Every military unit has to have authority. You're not just a bunch of, even pirates have, I was about to say you're not a bunch of pirates, but pirates actually have authority. Like, a lot of authority, in fact. Like, it wasn't as harsh as the British Navy, but it was pretty harsh being a pirate, right? With sanctity, we've talked about it. Libs of TikTok, you just follow that and you'll see, like, oh my gosh. So, by the way, the violations of sanctity, if you ignore sanctity, you will begin losing people, because this is gut feeling. Like, a lot of this is gut feeling. In fact, I'd say yes, all this. Like, someone who, if I found the cure for cancer in a library book, like someone had written down the cure for cancer, and I was like, I don't feel like it. And like, I want to share it. I don't care about other people. I don't have cancer, so I don't care. Right? People would kill you. There's a gut feeling that that's wrong. Same thing with fairness. If you're promoting one employee over another, just based on how attractive they are, right? If you're just taking deals and showing nepotism, right? That's considered unfair. People get a gut feeling, and they'll do and people with gut feelings do irrational stuff. That's why like the drag queen stories, the drag queens striptease stuff is I think they're trying to violate sanctity enough so that someone does a shooting, does a bang bang, right? That's what I think is going to happen. They're trying to do a drag Floyd. James Lindsay proposed that. I think he's right. I think he's onto something. I think, funnily enough, the people working behind the Marxists right now, so the Marxists are just more well established of the rationalists. They're the most fast moving as well. They're the most aggressive. Liberals, like David French, the guy who said that, drag queen story hour is a testament to our freedom of speech. They are the slow solvent that erodes deep. They basically say that the gut feeling of sanctity, oh, that's just you being irrational. Look at this elevated, free discourse we have where you can twerk in front of 4-year-olds. Yeah, no, thank you. People are going to rebel against that, and they are. Some people have to be loyal to something. You got to serve somebody, as Bob Dylan says. And people are going to coalesce around something, and they're going to do it fanatically because they found it organically. It is tailored to them because it's a marketplace of authority. And they're going to listen to it. This is how you get cults. This is how you get, I don't know. This is how Oprah actually has a lot of authority. Yeah, Oprah probably has more authority than most, at least in the 90s and 2000s. She had more authority than pretty much anybody in America. Loyalty as well, right? You gut feeling of being loyal, of like, hey, this is where you're from. And loyalty is also to your family, right? This is your family. How could you betray us? That sort of stuff. All these gut feelings make people crazy. And if you have a society that is missing any one of these components, that society is going to fall. You have to have all 6 legs on the floor if you want to keep a society going. Just think about these things for a minute. Listen to Jonathan Haidt's work. I'll put it in the comment, or I'll make a pinned comment. Listen to his work and decide for yourself if a society could actually live without any one of these things, because I don't think they could. And if you don't have them as an individual person, I saw a scripture today, 2 Corinthians chapter 6 through, 2 Corinthians 6:14. So I'm appealing to the authority of the Bible here when it comes to upholding our moral righteousness in the world, because I speak to Christians as a Christian. The only thing I think you should ever identify yourself as is your father and mother's son and a Christian. That's it. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers, for what do righteousness and wickedness have in common, or what fellowship can light have with darkness? What does that mean? It's pretty harsh. Basically means don't stay with unbelievers. Unbeliever to me, I'm not going to, so this is a Corinthian letter. I believe it was another Paul letter, right? Word of a man inspired by God, all that stuff. Unbeliever, it's not just someone who doesn't believe, it's an unbeliever. Like, this is darkness. He's saying that they are darkness. What fellowship can you have with darkness? When you're working with someone who's missing one of these things, isn't it the worst thing in the freaking world? Let's say you're just at the office. Guy goes over, grabs a coffee, doesn't ask you if you want to hang out with him or come with him, or doesn't grab you one on the way back. Doesn't ask you how your day is. That person's a psycho. You hate that person. Look at someone who's not fair. You go over to their house to play board games and they just start cheating. You hate that person. You look at someone who doesn't give you any freedom. Oh, yeah, by the way, a world without liberty. Let's say someone takes care of you, they're fair to you, they're loyal, authority, and sanctity. You're a pet at that point. You're just a pet. You're a well-cared-for pet. And people fight revolutions over that. People want to self-determine, right? The word liberty didn't mean do whatever the F you wanted back in the day. It meant self-determination of the country. That's a topic for another night. I'll probably make a second YouTube channel where I talk about politics. I don't want to pollute the farm engineer with political stuff, but this is important to you as a person and to your makeup as a person, and you should heed this. Let's say there's a person who wasn't loyal to you, right? They weren't loyal to you. Let's say that you agreed to work with a person and that you're going to help each other build a business, right? You showed them loyalty. You were there. You worked for not that much money. You were kind of given a vague promise that you would be leadership someday in this startup, and all of a sudden he just hires somebody better. He just says, nah, I know you were there at the hard times, but you're gone, right? Here's another one. Let's say you're dating a dude. You're dating him for like 10 years. You're being patient, you know? And then he's like, nah, not feeling it. Worst scumbag ever. Or someone who doesn't believe in authority. They're just like punker, like, yeah, businessman, all their whole life. It's like a man-child. And someone who doesn't believe in sanctity, they're like, oh yeah, you know, I groped you while you were sleeping, but you didn't know, so whatever, who cares? It's like, no, that's a terrible person. If you ever meet a person who's missing one of these, they're a psychopath. Which is kind of what these guys come off to me as. Right? So don't yoke yourself to these people who are missing a fundamental piece of their moral background. I can have an argument with a conservative on any of these. I can argue based on authority. I could say, this is the Bible. We believe in this. Excuse me. Get a water. Or this is sacred. We don't touch this. Right? Like, let's say I wanted to argue against gender surgery. Like, each one of these is actually a way of, it's a shield. It is a foundation and a shield against the attack vectors. If you're missing one of these, if you're missing any of these pieces, right, here's society right there. Never actually drank that water. I do that a lot. Each one of these is like a disease vector. Think about that for a minute. Each one of these is a disease vector. If you are missing any one of these, someone could come through and cleave it. And the reason why is because humans have an instinctual desire for all of these things. If you do not feed someone's instinctual desire for these 6 values, you are going to get a section of the population, probably like 30%, who would find a loss of any one of these to be objectionable to the point where they would find somebody else to run the place in whatever manner they want. What the Republicans did was they realized that the care of the American people was falling short. A lot of people say America first. That is a appeal to both care and fairness. Oddly enough, the neocons were missing the care and the fairness part. Like, they were all about liberty and loyalty to country, go to war and fight. They didn't really care about the veterans that much. There wasn't a lot of fairness to them. And they cared about the sanctity of certain things. They were kind of missing the sanctity part, like the David French, as I mentioned before. But how do you think the Marxists came to power in the United States? It's because the neocons were completely missing this. They were missing the care and the fairness, right? And they were also missing the sanctity, which, by the way, is what a lot of them will attack on. And if you're missing one of these, someone can use these as a way to pry stuff away from you. Now, this is why you should not yoke yourselves, conservatives, to libertarians. They will eat at these other pieces. They will say, hey, what are we sending an aid package to Mexico? That's taxpayer money. That's terrible. I shouldn't have to pay it. You know, taxation is theft. It's like, all right, I can see an argument, but there is no having an argument with them. They will not accept any argument. Even if it's like, this is a care package that's actually a bribe to stop the cartel from attacking us, or something like that, right? Or it's a care package to arm the locals so the cartel doesn't show up here, right? But they'd be like, no, on principle. It's like, I have 5 more principles than you, and you don't even want to hear any of these other ones. Why the hell would I work with you? I can't work with you. As we've talked about, if you worked with a human being that lacked any one of these, you'd think they're a psycho. Right? Absolutely think you're a psycho, dude. Just think about these ones. Missing any one of these. And libertarians are missing almost all of them. They're missing 5 of them. That's why they're a joke. Like, the Marxists actually have power. For this reason, they're able to leverage care and fairness. And what they do is they leverage their own stuff to pry out the other things. They'll say that your loyalty to your country has come at the cost of the care of the world. They'll say that your appeal to authority is destroying the fairness of it. They'll say that your liberty is destroying the fairness. These things are counterpodal, which is a word I probably just made up. They counter each other. They're antipodal, which is a real word. They're antipodal as in they're opposites of each other sometimes. And they're supposed to keep each other in check. This is just like a government, just like a body. You keep yourself in check with these 6 values. If you do not have all 6 of these values, you are not a complete person. You are an NPC. That is why we have the NPC meme. Because you're not able to think with the latitude to understand any of these other points. You are so isolated from the rest of thought that you can't compromise. And the key to being a good moral person is you have to make compromises. That's one of the reasons why what's central to the Christian religion is the idea that you need forgiveness, that you are never perfect. You are never going to be a perfect arbiter of any of these things. You're going to betray people. right? There's great betrayals that end up coming okay, right? I mean, in a way, I'd say Jonah is probably the one who's betraying the most. Well, he's just sort of not he's just kind of being a racist jerk who's trying to run away from his job that God gave him. I suppose that would be disloyal. And he gets brought to he gets redeemed in the end, just whether he likes it or not. You could fall short on realizing someone's authority. That happens in families all the time. Like, your dad has to remind you that he's your dad. Sometimes with a belt, sometimes with a stern talking to, sometimes with just a look. And you ask for forgiveness, like, I'm sorry, Dad. I forgot myself. He says, that's okay, son. I forgive you, right? Let's say sanctity. Let's say you take a bunch of drugs or something, or you have premarital sex. You have a lot of sex. I don't know. You're just getting all the sex done. You had a crazy weekend in Cabo. You violated your own sanctity. There's a way back from that. There's explicit Bible verses about coming back from that. I don't know why it is a fault of modern Christians, especially American ones, that they're not more forgiving. Obviously you don't have to trust the person, right? Like, you can always suspect that they're just doing this to screw around, and you don't have to marry this person. But you don't have to, like, be actively a jerk to them, right? Totally fine. And I think any good Christian would forgive past indiscretions, right? Let's say that you were unfair, you were favoring a friend. Let's say you just didn't take care of somebody. I will never forget my time in Indonesia, because there were beggars everywhere, and I just straight up didn't have. Okay, that's my excuse. All right, so I'm still BSing myself, but I will come clean on here. I told myself I didn't have enough money for all of them. To be honest, I just wanted to keep the money for myself. I was being a selfish dick. And these beggars were actually in a lot of trouble. Like, they had diseases. They had goiters and stuff. They, like, a dollar's worth of salt could have helped this guy's thyroid gland. And I was just like, nah, I want to buy some bracelets. It's like some absolute dickhead 17-year-old kid. And I violated care. I was being a terrible person. I didn't even want to tell the truth just now. I almost wanted to lie, and disgrace my sanctity of my moral character, because it just hurts so much to realize that I did that. But there's a way back to it. Christianity has a way back for all of these that do not involve getting your head chopped off or honor killing your daughter. Anyways, or the Marxists just being excommunicated. They love excommunicating people. They like unperson you. Like, they'll, like, make you lose your job. I gotta respect it. They make good coffee, whatever. I try to love them. It's not easy sometimes. So each of these is a vector, and each of these is a lever to compromise another one. Care is a major one that a lot of people leverage, because the reason why the Marxists are so dangerous is because in the name of care, they will commit atrocities. In care and fairness, like, future generations will forgive our atrocities if we make a better society and create a better person. Oh my gosh, it's utopian. And that's actually another thing, is that these moral blind spots make Marxists and libertarians both fall for utopias. Utopia means no place. You can't get there. Like, I don't really understand what the libertarian paradise is supposed to look like. Do I pay taxes? How do I pay the taxes? Are there any government services? Okay, if there's no government services, then who's defending the border? Is it volunteers? Why do the volunteers do this? Like, it's violating their own liberty to shackle themselves to the border to protect the rest of us, right? What if there's, like, El Chapo rolls through and just says, I'm just going to pay all you guys if you want to join me, and we're just going to come in here, and then all of a sudden you lose all of your liberty because now you're working on a sugarcane plantation, singing songs in the fields, right? Like, what does it look like? I don't know. And every time, all right, here's a fun challenge for you. Go and find at least 2 libertarians, maybe up to 5, and ask them to define libertarianism. And what does a libertarian America look like? That's the second question. And then ask them a really specific question. How do you think the government should raise revenue? And they're going to give you all 5 of them. Like, all of them are going to give you different answers. Because I've done this. I don't know they have no appeal to authority. Every single one of these libertarians thinks that their opinion is as valid as anybody else's. So I just kept hearing a bunch of stuff about the Mises Caucus. I saw Austrian economics. I'm like, that looks like the same stuff that Ron Paul's talking about. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But all they do is shout Mises Caucus. They never actually discuss any of the ideas in it. So I'm guessing it's just a loyalty signal. I don't know. It's like a movie that you see a lot of commercials for, but you never hear anyone talk about what's actually happened in the movie. Like, oh, you remember this scene? This was a great scene. Oh, I really like this idea. It's like, no, not really. Okay. I was like, all right, that's not a good movie then. It's a hyped movie is what it is. All right. I'm hitting up to the hour, so I'm just going to chill out here for a little bit. Keep talking. See if anybody's here. Oh, yeah. Joan running. Oh, man. No, racism goes deep, man. Racism goes deep. I don't know what. All right. Hey, by the way, funky Amish dude. I'm illiterate. I'm slightly illiterate. For some reason, YouTube was trying to suppress your comment. Oh, keep kicking ass. Oh, thanks, man. Hey, you don't have to agree with me on everything. Remember, all of these moral principles are totally. I will argue with on, right? I will sacrifice some of my liberty for loyalty. Like, okay, I would love to think about when these would take priority, because what you have right now. I'm going to go to basic shapes and put a bunch of rectangles down. Boop. Yeah, I don't want you to always agree with me. If you're always agreeing with me, you're probably not thinking, and I'm not doing you any favors. And I would say, man, don't like if you're ever like thinking about me, if you're ever agreeing with me too much, don't. Find a reason to disagree with me, even if you don't actually disagree with me. That's always a good exercise. Steel man why I'm wrong. You might actually realize I'm wrong. It's like, oh yeah, you know what, Alex is full of. I had to do that with a lot of Joel Salatin stuff. Everyone likes Joel Salatin. Dude, I think that guy's fake. And CoffeeZilla agrees. CoffeeZilla showed a video of me he did the farmer equivalent to like muzzling somebody with his gun, right? You know, you're not supposed to like turn around at the shooting range and and point your gun at anybody. That's a big no-no. He did the farmer equivalent of that, is that he walked up behind a horse and slapped it on the ass. I don't know why he did it. And the thing is, the horse jumped, but he didn't. He didn't realize that he'd made a mistake. It was like watching someone who just owns the farm and doesn't work it. It was like, the administrator of the hospital that doesn't actually, he's a doctor, but he's been out of it for decades, and he just does the paperwork. And he just goes down there once in a while and just checks on a patient like, oh yeah, you've got us. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, you coughing. Oh, he has no idea what the hell's going on. That's the impression I got. And his whole like progressive pasturing thing doesn't make any sense, because cows, like the idea is that you have cows go in first and then like sheep and then pigs and you stage it like that. But like cows will pretty much eat the thing bare. Sheep will definitely eat it bare, and then pigs will just rut in it and tear up the area. And then chickens, I don't know what the hell chickens are supposed to do. I guess the pigs could eat the poop. If you want to just send the poop through another round to the GI tract. But the things, pigs will just eat their own poop. So if you want like a lot of eating poop, I don't know. What I did see is that the chicken tractors are pretty dumb. I have a video where I make fun of the chicken tractors. They're just caged free range. I don't understand the point of them. Check to see if there's any comments. Yeah, I don't understand the point of chicken tractors. It's like, oh, let me have a really, really tiny pen for my chicken, and the chicken's gonna do something to the ground. Because if I wanted to spread poop everywhere, I would just go under the roost and like shovel there. It takes me like 2 minutes to shovel poop from under. Like 90% of the poop that a chicken will produce is underneath the roost. You can just go pick that up. It's free. I've got 9 buckets of chicken crap in my garage. I'm just kidding. I don't. It's like, I'm not quite to the point where I'm like harvesting chicken poop, but I might. A lot of people are asking me about chicken fertilizer. It's a fair question. All right, so let's talk about when would these take over, right? So I put 6 bars here, because the agile, someone who is agile morally will and deprioritize these. Because if, let's say you're in the Great Depression, I'm doing this a lot. I'm going care hard, because people are going to kill. The people are 3 meals away from picking up a gun and shooting somebody. Like, you ever watch a kid be hungry? You ever watch your own child be hungry? You're going to kill somebody. You can't do that. You have no idea how many Americans were robbers. Like, I keep reading biographies of like aviation pioneers. Like Wiley Post is like, oh yeah, he worked in an oil field and then he had a 10-year stint as an armed robber. And then he invented the flight suit, the pressurized flight suit, and discovered the jet stream. It's like, we're just random, like normal dudes just going into armed robbery. And the answer is yes. It's the golden age of armed robbery. Maybe just give people bread. That's a good time to just maybe dig deep into your own pocket and give some bread. Fairness. I'm trying to think of when fairness would be good to prioritize. I think if things were getting really uneven, like here's a fairness. Here's something you might want fairness for. Fairness for voices on the internet, right? I mean, we talk about Section 230. If I go on to the internet and all I see is one side's take pushed by the algorithm all the time, I want a little more fairness, because that has massive repercussions for the future of our country. And then people might say like, oh, just get rid of the government then. It's like, the government is just a go-between of the people and everybody else, of all other nations and corporations. Am I disconnected? I'm back on. All right, good. Corporations will become as strong as nations. Good, I'm back on. All right, just checking. Corporations will become even stronger than nations, in fact, because they're nations that are, they're basically despotisms. They're autocratic. And they're usually meritocratic as well as autocratic when they're small. They get more bureaucratic. So many cratics right now. They get more bureaucratic as they get bigger, and they stop being a meritocracy. Anybody who's worked at a company with more than 500 people knows exactly what that's like. If you ever want to see a perfect meritocracy, go work at a restaurant. Everyone's so mad. Everyone is like taking breaks and smoking, just like, oh God, oh please make it stop. Oh, the dinner service is killing me. And like everyone hates the dishwashing boy, which was me. Might have been a me thing. I think a lot of people just hate me. Yes, so if there's not a lot of, when it comes to voices and speaking, especially on the internet, which the internet makes your voice scalable. Like the printing press was, but even more instant and much bigger. I think that we made, well, I don't even know how you would have made the printing press more fair, but the hegemony of the journalists who could pretty much send America to war because they didn't like the Spanish or they just felt like starting a war. The hegemony of, cannot say anymore, hegemony cricket, right? They had massive amount of power and there's no counterbalance to it. Now, lack of fairness is normal when it gets way too wonky and starts compromising on a lot of these other ones, right? Maybe you want to outlaw TikTok because it's having a massive unfair skew towards things that violate the authority of our country, the loyalty to our neighbors and parents, and the sanctity of our children's bodies. Probably a good idea to curb that one. Liberty, you kind of maximize this whenever everything else is fine. It's like, let people do whatever. I think that needs to be the default. And the libertarians do have a point that we never restored this up. Like, where is my Sears catalog with my fully automatic Thompson machine gun? Right? And the thing is, the Marxists will continue to push false narratives of like, oh, there's shootings all the time and it's because of ARs 15 or whatever I feel like, outlawing at the moment. It's annoying. They constantly try to make it so. I think we do need more liberty. I don't think the libertarians are right because the libertarians lack all these other things. Right now, if I were to listen to the voice of the people, they're looking for sanctity. And when dudes like Andrew Tate are taking our children, taking our boys, we need better authority. Like, we need better father figures in media that everyone can get behind. Like, I'd be okay with pushing that, right? Private companies, I don't know, I guess Daily Wire. I don't really like those guys, but Daily Wire and The Blaze, they got together and says, we're going to make the penultimate dad figure, and he just goes on the internet and does dad stuff and is nice to you. We're going to make a dad AI. I don't know. Give you some sort of authority. So we are servile creatures, right? We are servile creatures. We have to have authority or we lose our minds. Just make sure everything's still going good. 100%. Yeah, Lord Sandwich, your comment's right on. Dude, I was the same way. I wasn't an atheist, right? But I was an early 2000s dude, right? I wanted, which I feel like is like an 80s guy, but more depressed. It's like an 80s guy who wears flannel and listens to Kurt Cobain. Very materialistic. I thought the church was dumb. I had a terrible church growing up for the opposite reasons. They were a bunch of hippies that had no structure or principles. It sucked. Because I was looking for authority. I was like, but the reason why we talk about this kind of stuff is so that we understand under the surface what's going on. Like, why do we have a knee-jerk reaction? Like, why does this disgust you? And sometimes you have to go through a little bit of like exposure therapy to really understand the value of things, because we all lack in some of these. Like, I just told you a way that I lacked in care to a detriment. That guy should have robbed me. Like, honestly, if he had robbed me, I don't think I would have minded. Like, I would have looked back on it now and be like, yeah, it's probably, I didn't really need the money. And I was just, and like, you really needed the money. Probably should have cared about the guy. I could have worked on that. People could work on being fair, right? Dude, if you're married, you can work on being fair. There's always fairness issues. There's the day is always changing. The seasons are always changing. The middle point is always changing with it, right? So there you go. Liberty, I am for maximizing as long as these other things are okay. Now, I'm an engineer, and engineers believe something called requirements. So the reason why like your power tools and everything gets more flimsy over time, right? Sometimes to a fault, is because an engineer has gone through and said that it didn't need to be stronger so they can save money. It is good practice. I'm just going to use a rectangle. It is a good practice to build things to their minimum. So you have to ask yourself, what's the minimum? And I'm going to put this to the back. Send to the back. I'm going to make a different color so we can see it. I like orange. All right, so there's your bar. This is your minimum. You need everything to be above this bar, and then just maximize for liberty, because this is America and that's what we do. This is America and that's what we do. If we were a theocracy, we'd probably be maximizing authority and sanctity. We would have had untouchable statues of some saint or whatever. Pseudo-pagan god. Sorry, Catholics. I don't mean to slight you, and I don't mean to be a jerk or anything, but that's just how I feel. We're America, so we maximize liberty, as long as these other things are taken care of. Because I can't be getting robbed by hobos, and I can't be like getting screwed over by YouTube. Hi, YouTube. And I can't be getting backstabbed by like my police or whatever, or my soldiers just selling a bunch of guns to the Iranians or something because they can make a buck, right? And I can't have it so that everyone's burning the American flag and no one feels any sense of national unity. And I can't have it that like children are being mutilated in Vanderbilt and Nashville, right? I can't have those things. Like we are low. If I was to give a report of like, how are things going? You know, I'd probably say fairness is doing better than most things. Loyalty is at an all-time low. I've contemplated, I was like, man, maybe in a couple of years I'll be working for the cartels, but they could use a good engineer. I look at their technology, I'm like, this sucks. You could do better. Then I'm like, yeah, that's really evil though. Oh, you know, then I would start compromising on liberty, right? Like, okay, we have too many soldiers who are back home from rotation just selling guns illegally. We're going to crack down on those soldiers' liberty and start monitoring their text messages because they're just having massive problems. And we're going to have massive reprisals. And as a matter of fact, maybe we might even suspend, there's a principle that Benjamin Franklin said. It's based on I don't remember which Englishman said it, but I'd rather let 100 criminals go free than let one innocent man be sentenced. That's stupid, in my opinion. I think that's dumb. That's unrealistic. There's a ratio there, but that's not it. Because if you let 100 rapists go and then to not punish one rapist, you're just gonna have 190. You're just gonna have 100 rape victims that I'm saying words I'm not supposed to say. You're gonna have rape victims that are pissed off, and they're going to go and get themselves some justice by hiring hitmen, and then you've got way more people getting killed. When it becomes acceptable to like just throw people into wood chippers. You probably might need to, like, I don't mind compromising the liberty of maps and putting them on a registry. Notice how go and talk to a libertarian and ask them about the liberty of someone who just didn't commit a crime. They just went and self-reported that they have those urges. Do the police just bug their phone or not, or check their hard drive or not? That's a tough call. I'm a conservative, so I can actually have that argument without just completely neglecting these other things. So there you go. I know we want to be, I want more liberty. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not like some sort of weird statist who wants you to worship the flag and be arrested if you burn it. Although I do think that that should not slide. I haven't really made up my mind about that. It is. I think of it as an implicit threat against the nation, and it also is deleterious to the national consciousness, and it's cringe and it sucks. And part of my irrational, right? I was talking about how rationalism became a supremacist philosophy over how you feel, right? We're not actually a country founded necessarily on freedom. We're founded on representative government that is local to ourselves. The first thing that Washington did was go and fight the Whiskey Rebellion right after the founding. And I'll talk to libertarians about this. They'll like make appeals to the authority of the founding fathers. Then I'll like mention the Whiskey Rebellion. They're like, well, except for that. I was like, well, what's the point of making an appeal to authority if you're just going to throw it out when it doesn't agree with you, right? That doesn't appeal. That rings bad faith to me. There is some level of authority that you have to enforce, right? The authority of the nation, or else we crumble and fall apart. And we do have enemies. We have big enemies. I'm not that scared of them, but the cartel does scare the hell out of me. So I would maximize liberty as long as everything else is meeting or above that bar. Now, where that bar is, that's what you litigate. That's what you legislate based on, right? Where is the bar? What is allowed? Okay, because little Tina's always going to be doing, 16-year-old, Sally Sweet 16 is always going to be doing some stuff behind the gym. She's always going to be smoking the reefer. Can't stop it. Again, Easterners have the face and what you actually do, what your insides are. I think America could learn from that. At least we call it we call it a hypocrisy when someone's face doesn't match their inside, but it doesn't. Dude, if your hypocrisy makes the world work a little bit better and gives us more freedom, maybe hypocrisy is not so bad in that way, and that by that definition. You have a public image, and then you have your private life where you do whatever you want. Like, you could be fully liberated and totally unsanctified in your private life if you want to, right? And that's exactly what the Japanese do. Yeah, I would maximize liberty, 100%. As long as everything else is met. Because if you don't meet the standard, the people's standard for all these other ones, they're going to lose their minds. If your care standard is not high enough, you are going to have robbers and criminals who are doing that, and you're going to have Marxists. That's how you get, like, spilling soda on the floor is like, not having enough care in your society is like leaving soda on the floor. It's how you get ants. It's how you get Marxists. That's how it goes. I don't make the rules. It's happening. You can say, oh, that's not right, I don't like it, all you want, but it is what it is. Same thing with fairness, right? If people think that life is unfair, like, I think we overcompensated. I think we went a little trying to be too fair, right? Some of us are more equal than others, kind of thing, from Animal Farm. And our loyalty is so low that the loyalty is transferred from the federal state to the state level state, which I actually find quite encouraging. I like that. I am more of a localist than I am a federalist. Let me put it to you this way. I wish we didn't have a standing army sometimes. What I wish we had is that we had state militias that you would volunteer for, and a foreign legion that was privately funded. Like, they would crowdfund. It's like, we're about to, we need to make a 100 million target so that we can go ahead and man the DMZ in Korea with our foreign legion, and then leave the taxpayer out of it. That's what I would like to see. That it'd probably do really well. Like, think of the marketing for that, especially it being a private entity. Like, imagine if you got flown out to the Seychelles so you can be like working for Venom Snake over there, like Metal Gear Solid, and you're just working. It would be an American PMC that's underneath. They would have oversight from Congress. Is pretty much what it'd be. Like, Congress would investigate. They would set ground rules of like, okay, you're not allowed to burn people. You're not allowed to use like white phosphorus because it's really horrible to do, or stuff like that. Define what the war crimes are, because these are still Americans. And just through law, force some transparency. It's never bad to have transparency under law, because if they violate that transparency or lie, you can have an investigation. Like FOIA is a system that works pretty well, as far as I can see. We've learned a lot. Like, the American government is far from like the horrible. I think the FBI sucks. I think the FBI be gone. I'd get rid of I'd get rid of most of these 3-letter agencies. I'd keep the NSA, but I would gut them. Anything that's domestic, dude. If whoever approved the domestic spying program by the NSA should probably, I might have some space on my wall for them to stand and in time out a somewhat permanent timeout. That's treachery to me. That's treachery. You betrayed the American people. That must be met with the timiest and longest of timeouts. I would have it so that we don't have a standing military. We have local state-run militias that are per state. And people would sign up. That'd be amazing. Like, dude, you could always get young men to sign up to get in a nice uniform. I mean, as long as young men want girls, that's what they're going to be doing. And each of these militias would be a bit of a rival to other ones. It'd be like your football team, right? And you do drill parades, and it'd be great. It'd be a great sense of state pride. It would really boost the authority of the state. It would give you more loyalty. You should be loyal to the state you live in, by the way. You want to see what happens when you're disloyal to the state you live in? Like, imagine if all the conservatives just left. If let's say 50,000 conservatives moved out of Arizona right now. It'd be done. Arizona would be gone. You better darn right be loyal. You better hope your neighbor's loyal to your state. You better hope your neighbors are loyal. Because if they leave you here, your property's going to go right down. I'm too thirsty even raspberry. Oh, you know what? I got more water. If your neighbors abandon you, all your good neighbors, that's not going to work out well. That's like the farmers who take the buyout from the big corporation. We've all seen that story. It's like, well, you know, they've been going after me for a long time, and I decided to take the offer and go ahead and get out while the getting's good. Next thing you know, they've built some god-awful city. Ugh, with bus stops. Disgusting. And subways. Both what they pass for a restaurant as well as the mass transit system. Like, your loyalty is what keeps your community intact. I think your loyalty should be to people that you can go visit. Like, it used to be that you could just go visit the president, by the way. You could just go over to the White House and just talk to the president. Like, early days. I know the White House didn't exist. No, I think the White House did exist when... Let's find out. Oh yeah, dude, it gets dark, man. If the government falls, I'd work on your Spanish. If the United States government falls, welcome to getting skinned. Your daughter will be sold for sex slavery. Your sons will be drafted. Your wife will be processing cocaine. The cocaine. There's going to be a lot of frappes out there. A lot of frappes. White House build date. When was the White House built? I'm going over. I don't care. I just talk as long as I want. Every U.S. president since John Adams. There you go. There was a time you could just walk over and just talk to the president of the United States. He didn't have that much power, right? And the thing is, like, back then, if you tried to shoot the president, he'd probably shoot you first. He's probably packing heat. I don't know if you've ever seen how much alcohol. I mean, all right. Founding fathers' alcohol consumption. I don't know how the... I don't know if this is true, but I want it to be true. It's the best. I mean, the surprising drinking habits of the founding... The Bro Bible. Okay, yeah. Yeah, boy. Dude, the founding fathers were getting lit pretty hard. I mean, I'd be pretty lit hard if I was fighting against the biggest empire in the world. It's a goddamn miracle however country ever came to be. How much they hated. That's how much they... Oh, yeah, they hated each other. Oh, yeah, and see, they could put away their differences. It's because they had all 6 moral foundations. Like, what was it? Which Adams created the Alien Sedition Act? It might have been John Adams, the Alien Sedition Act, which was a complete violation of the First Amendment. We worked our way through it because we got all 6 of the foundations. Like, we stayed loyal to we didn't just dissolve the country. It was like, what a lie, what a crock, dissolve it. No, we worked through it like a good family. Drunk. We worked through it good and drunk. Yeah. Oh, according to the bill preserved in the evening, they drank 54 bottles of Madeira. I don't even know what that is. 60 bottles of Claret. 8 of whiskey. 22 of porter. 8 of hard cider. Only 8? 12 of beer and 7 bowls of alcoholic punch. By the way, these bowls of alcoholic punch are massive. Oh my gosh. That's a lot of hooch. I don't even know how many of these people there were. There were 55 people. So, oh my God, that's 1 bottle of Madeira per, wow, 1 bottle of Claret. That's, I'm bad with my math right now, but that looks like, I got my calculator button. Boop. I gotta stop audibly saying boop when I press buttons on. I don't do it when I'm by myself. All right, so we got 55 people. All right, so we got 8 bottles of whiskey. Dadgummit. We got 8. I've absolutely, there we go. 8 bottles of whiskey divided by 55 people. Inverse that, and that's only a bottle of whiskey for about 7 people, give or take. It's not a ton, but the rest of this is a lot. Yeah, wow. Dang. Is that for an evening? 2 days. In 2 days before the... Wait. One thing... 2 days... Yeah, all right. Well, I'll be drunk too. So... Man, that's pretty good. That's like submitting your writing assignment completely through hooch. They probably didn't sleep. If there had been cocaine back then, they would have definitely had that. They would have definitely had that. But I was in controls. That'll explain why all the second S's look like F's. The Congress. I don't know if you've ever seen an actual picture of the Bill of Rights. Oh boy, I love our founding fathers. They're very human, very imperfect. Washington, being a general, was kind of a totalitarian, although he was not a king. I think he just didn't want the job, to be honest. I think if he had wanted the job a little bit more, he would have took it. But it seems like he really hated being the president. He probably thought this was like a real pain in the butt to work with, because we were just a bunch of loose colonies constantly fighting amongst each other. He probably found it to be very unsatisfying. He was a Federalist, but there you go. But speaking of the Federalist Papers apparently reveal how much they fought amongst each other. It's good to know. Yeah, stuff spreads around. Lord Sandwich, for sure. Yeah, we got to be loyal to our individual states, because our individual states are a lot more like our country was back then, right? The population-wise, it's a lot closer, that's for sure. The way that they tend to work, like every state has its own Congress, right? And if I look at the Bill of Rights, this blew my mind. I never thought about this, because I always thought, oh, we have freedom of speech. We got freedom of speech. We actually don't have freedom of speech. That's not in the Constitution at all. People think it, and people will get really mad at me. It's like, that's the articles. Here we go. So, do you have freedom of speech? No, you don't. You absolutely don't. You absolutely don't. What is it? Oh, the First Amendment gives me free speech, right? It's like, that's midwit thinking. Congress shall make no law. Congress shall make no law. Congress shall make no law. I could ban Islam in Tennessee if I wanted to. I could ban newspapers if I wanted to. That's a state level right there. Congress shall make no law. I could ban Christian rock. I think we can work out a deal. We'll keep Creed. We'll just have an except. No, you know what? Screw Creed. They're done. Nobody listens to Creed anymore. Creed will become like, if you outlaw Creed, only outlaws will listen to Creed. That's the way God intended, don't you know? Congress shall make no law. You don't have free speech. You don't have free speech. Now, the Second Amendment is absolute, shall not be infringed. I do agree with that. I didn't agree with it 2 years ago. I sure as hell agree with it now. I do like a well-regulated militia too. Keep that militia well-staffed. And being necessary to the security of a free state. Free meaning outside of free of entanglements. The state is free. You are not free. Just in this statement. I'm not saying that's the fact absolutely, but the state is free. So when we created our government, it was a representative government of the states. Every state appointed their senators. So that was a state appointment. That was not a vote. It didn't used to be a vote. They would appoint their senators. The people would vote for their House members. And that would be the interface with the federal government. And the people would also, through the Electoral College, vote for the president, who would ever preside. He's the commander-in-chief. He's there to veto, unless they have a 2/3 majority. The idea was that things were supposed to counter each other and move slowly. Our government, although some might not believe is a Christian government, is definitely a conservative one because it's supposed to move very slowly. I don't want people to agree. I want fistfights in Congress. The last week has been the best week ever for Congress. I love it. I want to see people punching each other out. I want to see people throwing hands. I love infighting. I love outfighting. I love just fighting in general. I want Bronson to be elected. I don't even know how I think you can elect foreign people. Yeah, bring Bronson in. Charles Bronson. I want to elect people purely because they are huge and can fight. I want this to turn, because I want it to be a clown show. I want nothing to get done. I want the government to be shut down constantly, right? I want people leaving Congress so they can go work at a bank, because they're so tired of being beaten up and getting nothing done and getting angry letters. I want them to be the most beleaguered, browbeaten people on the planet. I want them to be the subject of constant mockery. I want more reactions of them looking sad as people hold insulting signs up. I want this to be a clown show. People are like, oh, Donald Trump's a reality TV show star. He can't be president. I was like, he's perfect for president. I want the stupidest people who can't get anything done. That would be great. That'd be great. I think the economy just went well because everyone was fighting for those years. I don't even know I like oil drilling, the fracking and all that stuff. That's good. Fuel independence. That was great. That probably had a lot to do with it. I also think a lot to do with it was that the government was completely weakened, right? Now, I don't want to eliminate stuff ham. We should vote on what departments to eliminate, because if you just eliminate the EPA overnight, there's probably going to be some repercussions. I don't like the EPA any more than anybody. FBI I'd get rid of overnight. Screw them. Again, I'm probably as libertarian as any guy, but I just have those other moral things that kind of keep me in check. Which those moral things, by the way, are what make other libertarians call me not a real libertarian. I'm so sick of that. Absolutely. It's like an exclusive club. It's not a status symbol, dickhead. Oh, I'm a libertarian. That makes me special. All right, good. I'll write a letter to your mom. I get you. I want the state militia. I would love it if Texas, Florida, and Tennessee state militia just stormed the FBI headquarters and took their hard drives and then put everyone into an internment camp until we can figure out what the hell's going on. We'd send letters to their wives. By the way, that'd be at the cost of liberty, right? So liberty go down. Liberty go down. Liberty go down. For them, liberty go up for us. Liberty go up for us. Liberty go down for them. Because our loyalty is really down. I'm willing to make a compromise, don't you see? I'm not going to David French you, because David French is a conservative pundit who hamstrings every freaking chance he gets. He is such a pain in the ass. I am sick of it. Anyways, now, sometimes you got to get some stuff done. I would do that. That's something I would do quickly. Seize the hard drives, get in there, detain everybody, begin taking statements from everyone, have them brief you in separation from each other. I want the director and the co-directors and the senior director all being interviewed by someone from another agency or someone from the army, or sorry, not the army, our state militias, right? And being interviewed and taking statements, and we're going to find out whose story doesn't match whose, and we're just going to start locking people away. I want to know whose civil rights have been violated, because right now they're on that's treason. They've committed, as far as I'm concerned, they've committed treason. They've lied to Congress about what they are doing. They have committed things that are absolutely against the law. So there's an old Western concept called outlaw. So what an outlaw was someone who'd committed a crime and was now considered outside of the protection of the law. So you don't have rights. You are a now untouchable. You could be, if you were an outlaw, branded as an outlaw, I could just walk up to you and shoot you dead. It doesn't matter if you were a threat to me. Theoretically I could enslave you, but that's a lot of trouble. But if you're an outlaw, the law does no longer applies to you. That's not a good thing for you. You would like to have the protection of the law. The only thing that separates the CEO of Pfizer from Al Capone is the law. One of them follows the law and the other one doesn't. That's it. Outlawing hooch didn't make gangsters. Having everything else be legal kept gangsters out of everything else. That's the truth of it. That's the truth of it. The cartel runs the avocado business. They will do whatever makes them money. They don't care if it's illegal or not. But the legal system, once you've declared that a substance is outside of the law, it is an outlawed substance. Now the cartel has exclusive rights to fiddle with it. Because normally legitimate businesses that answer to the law and answer to the police and answer to the judges and answer to the people, because that's what that is. When you elect your sheriff, you elect your judges, and you elect your legislators who create the laws. You elect your judges to interpret the laws, and you elect your police officers who are there to enforce the laws. Right? That's the people. On a local level, ideally, right? That's the will of the people. Now, the people just don't have a lot of will or wherewithal. That's up to them. But the local liquor store that has to follow the law is going to be a lot less prone to shoot at people and their rivals, although they still do sometimes, used to. They're going to be a lot less prone to shoot at their competition because they're under the auspices of the law, and it's a better economic outcome for them with lower risks. Like, I can get into the illegal business of anything I want, but the upside of it just isn't worth it. That's what the law does. It just makes it so the upside of doing stuff underhandedly is not worth it. That's it. I could run a numbers game. It's just an illegal lottery, right? And not a sanctioned lottery. Like, if they made it legal to make lotteries all the time, you'd have people running numbers like crazy. And eventually those lotteries would probably get pretty good. Oh, all right. Well, I've gotten out most of what I need to get. Let me see if there's anything I forgot. I will check your comments here in a second. Yeah, I don't know what libertarianism is. I like liberty too, but I don't know what the hell libertarianism is. I do know these other things as well, and I don't think they do. They certainly don't know what loyalty, which is why their party is in shambles all the time. 50 years, what have they ever gotten done? Nothing. They don't even identify with their own party. Like, how many libertarians are actually part of their own party and care and like are really? How many libertarians were just like, yeah, go George Jorgensen? None. Like, almost none. They all hated it. Like, they're so I mean, maybe they'll be loyal to this Mises caucus, but probably they're just going to forget about it. I don't know. I've been around for a long time. I've been around since Ron Paul. I haven't seen anything that like really blows my skirt up. You know what I mean? Oh, all right. Let's check them comments, guys. Yeah, I don't know what that funky Amish donut. I don't know what your comment about Fetterman was, but I'm sure it was pretty funny. I'm sorry I missed it. Oh, you playing a funk band? That's awesome, man. That's a great genre of music, dude. That's rocking awesome. Let me just put my face up on here. Face cam only. I'm still got a ghetto stream here. I don't know how to blend everything just right just yet, and my camera is still on my computer, so it just waves around like crazy. Check into the ripsaw and the mosquito. What is that? Ripsaw and the mosquito. Mosquito. I'm typing on my computer. Hope you don't mind. What is that? What is a ripsaw and the mosquito? Is that like a tool? Those might be separate. There's a ripsaw tank. Is that what you're talking about? Might be. I put it up. That looks pretty cool. It looks expensive. I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but it's what we're talking about now. Last minute version. Okay. Skid plates, underside ripsaw. I know how to stick weld, and I think that's probably about as much as you need. Oh, that's cool. It's like they took airboats and put wheels under them. That's pretty cool. I don't know if is this what you're talking about? If it is, keep talking about it. That's awesome. I love America. America's nuts. Oh, yeah. Okay. Civilian things. Yeah, perfect for militia. I think I cannot talk about what would be good for a militia to use on YouTube. I briefly had an internship at a 3-letter agency in a gifted youth program. And I learned a lot about international terrorism. I had a lot of free time. I was there. I mean, I was basically just there to make coffee and stuff. But like I had a lot of free time, right? And in my free time, I just talked to people, and they were bored middle-aged dudes and ladies who were just like, oh, this nice inquisitive young boy wants to talk about terror. I have terrorist literature on my, well, I probably shouldn't say that, but yeah, I have like the Catcher in the Rye for Terrorists, which is Milestones by Saeed Qutb. I never read it. I didn't have time. I'm not really a book guy, unfortunately. I just don't read very much. I'm kind of afraid to look that up now. I might end up on a list. But yes, that's pretty much. So my tactics would be underhanded. It depends on the kind of war you're fighting too, right? It depends on the kind of war you're fighting. I think drones have a lot of potential if done right. I think this is a pretty cool tank. Battle out against mosquito. Plenty of mud. I'm going to look up the mosquito. That might be. I don't want to jump the gun here. You might already be talking about something that I'm talking about, and I'm being a dick. I don't know what that is. Let me look it up. Let me see what you got. Oh, oh, sweet. They need to make a drone version of military. Drones are where it's at. I know people don't like drones all the time. There is something to be said about the Teddy Roosevelt quote. Oh, okay. Basic human rights. Dude, if there's a time for human rights and there's a time for not human rights, okay? Human rights are not absolute, unfortunately. That's just the way it goes. Rights might be God-given, but they're maintained. That's how it goes. Teddy Roosevelt quote, America. Let me see what this is. Here we go. Yeah. So this is my favorite quote from Teddy Roosevelt. Let me see if you guys can see it. The thing that will destroy America are prosperity at any price. That means moral price primarily. Peace at any price. That means the subjugation of liberty. Like, we're supposed to have a little bit of fighting going on. Like, as I said, I like a good fight in Congress. If you guys want to hear about something cool, you probably already know about the Battle of Athens. Count Dankula has a great video on it. I encourage you guys to look at that. Safety first instead of duty first, like holding your own life precious. This is actually a pretty good, this quote here from Roosevelt is a pretty good reflection of the morality and the lack of morality, the love of soft living and the get rich quick theory of life. I think this is the end of it, right? This is why I'm very resistant to financial trends. I know people like Bitcoin. I do not partake. I do not partake. I do not want to partake. I don't want to get rich quick. I don't want to hodl. You know, I don't want to go to the moon. I want to stay on my farm. I just had 2 lambs born a little while ago. I will take that as a blessing. They're both very healthy and very happy. And I had nothing to do with it. They just showed up one day. Nature's doing nature things. Check out this ripsaw. It's pretty cool. I want a submarine. That would be... Okay, you know what? That'd be awesome, actually. A submarine that looked a little bit like this. That would be really cool. That'd be really cool. Because you could go just about anywhere. And you might not even need to have the glass on it. You'd just be fully sonar. It'd be like a little tank. You might even have like a slidey thing. If it just went down to like 100 feet or even 20 feet, you know, like call it the Bay Beetle or something like that. That'd be pretty awesome. I don't know. What do you guys think? Submarine? I don't know how to put it. It was an ultralight. Okay, I'll check that out. I'm probably going to buy an AR-15 pretty soon, and I'm thinking of going for the Zion 15. I'm just BSing at this point. Because I think the Zion 15 has a really good trigger, as I've heard. I watch Honest Outlaw for guns. Honest Outlaw has a really good channel. I will keep this link. So, Honest... I cannot type. Honest Outlaw. AR-15. I'm going to put a Zion 15. And the price is really good. About $830. So best AR for the money. It's got good groupings. He tests it. This guy is probably one of the best gun YouTubers for reviews. He's just no nonsense. He goes out there, shoots it. He's a competition gun shooter. Proper. Yeah, where's the IWI? I'll tell you what, man. If I was going to trust the maker of a gun, I would trust a nation that has faced genocidal annihilation for decades. Because they're probably not fooling around. Like, the guy who designed this gun is probably thinking, if I screw this up, my whole family could die. That's the kind of guy you want to get a gun from. I don't know. I might go for a 12-inch barrel. I might go... Yeah. I don't want any of this weird mess. I know bullpups are cool, but the squishiness of the trigger makes me resistant to getting one. I like to buy high quality. I like to buy not too high. I'm not going to go Daniel Defense or anything like that. I would rather part swap my way to quality over time with an AR-15 because you can do that. But my pistol is a Beretta 92X Performance. This is pretty good. Oh, this is a starting bid. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, so this is what I'd be into. Feel free to drop in the comments any suggestions you have, because I'm probably going to buy this in April once I've paid off my debts. Not my mortgage, of course. I don't really go for the... I think 5.56 is the right caliber to go for. I was considering getting the Galil Ace 2 for a little while, but I think the Galil is just cool factor. And I'm buying this gun for... The coolness is lost on me. I'm not going to look at it most of the time. I'm just going to shoot it. It's got to feel good. It's got to feel good. Great Lakes AR-15. All right. There's not Tactical Hive. Oh, I love Tactical Hive. Yeah, those guys are great. I love their videos on posture and performance. Those guys really know what they're talking about. Yeah, Demolition Ranch and Brennan Herrera are really entertaining. They're really entertaining. But I tend to be in a big rush, and I don't like theatrics. So I will get the skimmy from Honest Outlaw, and then we'll go from there. $700, May, Michigan, May, okay, all right. Something to think about, man. Something to think about. Keep dropping them in the comments. I got to take off. It's been fun. I went way over. Dude, I like it. This is fun. I might go over more. I might have to find another time slot. Feel free to comment or chat when a good time slot would be for you guys. I could do anything from like 6 o'clock, depending on how heavy the conversation is. But, we'll see how it goes. All right, guys. Drop comments. Thanks, guys, for coming by. I really appreciate it. I love coming and talking to you guys. And I will, let me, and I'll see you guys next time. Tuesdays at 7 p.m. until I say so otherwise. Just keep an eye on the channel, and I will have the live stream up. I try to have it like a week ahead of time. So I won't change the time for next week, but I might change the time based on your feedback in subsequent weeks. So we'll see. All right, guys. Peace.